This is your ultimate guide to PvP in Sea of Thieves. I know this is a long video, but I broke it into 10 different parts for you. By the way, I'm Captain Squiddy. Did you know I'm the biggest Sea of Thieves YouTuber that plays on console, but I only have 14,000 subs. So if you're a console player, you better represent by hitting that subscribe button. And now, a word from our sponsor. Just kidding, there is no sponsor. In my hands is a working blunderbuss, and I will come plunder your booty, unless you smash that subscribe button right now. I hope you're ready to invade Iraq, because in today's video we're talking about weapons of mass destruction. Explosive kegs are by far the most fun item to use in Sea of Thieves. They can be used to troll your enemies, set sneaky traps, or even to pull off crazy plays to turn a fight in your favor. These are the three main types of kegs. The first is the standard red gunpowder barrel, also known as the powder keg. These will open 4 holes on a ship and start fires. The explosion will break the mast, wheel, or anchor if close enough, and any player close to the explosion will be knocked back, damaged, or killed. The next type of keg is the stronghold gunpowder barrel, also known as the mega keg or the nuke. These make an explosion 3 times bigger and deadlier than a normal keg. Nukes are valuable to the Merchant Alliance if you'd rather sell them, but I think they're too strong of a weapon to go to waste. You can pretty much take a ship hostage if you board with one of these. Just make sure you get as far away from the explosion as possible before it goes off. These will pretty much one-shot kill you if you're standing anywhere on the ship at the time of the explosion. The final keg is the rarest, which is the keg of ancient black powder, also known as the Athena keg. These are the Athena's Fortune variant of the Stronghold keg, and they are very valuable. Athena kegs deal the same triple damage as the Stronghold keg, but the explosion looks way cooler. The best place to quickly find kegs is at a fortress. There are 3 fortresses in each of the 3 main regions. Each fortress will have up to 8 kegs hidden on it. Search the guard towers, the main building, and around the perimeter to find all the hidden kegs. However, if you want to find more powerful kegs, you'll need to complete a Fort World event or follow a treasure map. Kegs can be used offensively or defensively. Use kegs to attack other players by putting them on the front of your ship and then ramming them. But if you actually want your ship to survive, you'll need to be more tactical. Do a drive-by on enemy ships, but jump off with the keg in your hands to board them. If you want to be really sneaky, you can use a rowboat to transport the keg to your enemy. One thing that's really fun is docking a rowboat full of kegs to an enemy ship. There's really no better feeling than boarding an enemy ship with a keg in your hand. You want to light the keg and then run away from it to survive the blast. But remember to watch out for enemies trying to defuse your bomb before it explodes. It's a good idea to keep a blunder bomb in your hand so you're ready to manually blow up the keg if an enemy stops the fuse. But blowing up the keg is only half the battle. Next, you'll need to gatekeep all the enemy holes and stop them from bailing water so they sink. But what about using kegs defensively? How is this even possible? Well, let me explain some tips. If you find yourself being chased by greedy pirates, you want to sail directly away from them in a straight line so they're right behind you. While your ship leads them on a chase in autopilot, you should be free to jump in the water with a keg in your hand and board the enemy by surprise. A tip is to not jump off the very back of your ship so the enemy can't see what you're planning. Don't let them see that you have a keg. You also want to swim under the water until you get as close to the enemy ship as possible. If they see you above the waves, they're going to try and snipe the keg in your hands. The more kegs you have on board, the more you can harass whoever's chasing you. But obviously, only take kegs if you spot your enemy before they have spotted you. If you get surprise attacked, then all your kegs are just gonna blow up and give the enemy a free sink. If you're being chased but don't have kegs, consider circling a fortress. You can quickly find kegs in the guard towers and then easily catch your enemy off guard by boarding them with a keg. Next, we need to talk about keg safety. Powder kegs literally explode from anything. They'll explode from gunshots, cannonballs, swords, fire, lightning, other explosions, NPC attacks, and even from bumping the side of your ship.
Ah, wait, what?
Why?
I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. What happened?
If you breathe on a keg, it will blow up. If you just look at one the wrong way, it will explode. So you're probably wondering, where's the safest place to store kegs on my ship? There is none. But some spots are riskier than others. Many people prefer to keep them in the crow's nest, but this takes way too long to remove them from here if you find yourself in danger. It also guarantees that your mast is going to go down if it explodes. Instead, I prefer to keep kegs on the very front of my ship so it makes the least holes if it explodes. And also it's ready to access the keg quickly, whether I'm ready to use it, or if I need to dump it off the side of my ship if I'm in danger. The only safer place to store kegs would be in a rowboat on the back of your ship, because you can detach it at a moment's notice. Detach the rowboat, Drew.
Okay. Should I go? Wait, I'm gonna go bomb them.
No, just detach the whole rowboat.
I'm trying. It's the X. It's Y, not X. Okay, I detached it.
Finally, let's discuss how you can defend against enemy kegs. Your top priority should always be to blow up the keg in the hands of your enemy, even if they've already boarded your ship. This is because the real danger isn't even the explosion itself, but rather the enemy stopping you from repairing after the explosion. That's why it's worth shooting a keg to kill an enemy, even if you will die in the explosion too. You really just want the enemy to die at all costs. You should be able to respawn on your ship in time to save it. But what if your enemy surprise attacked you and already set the keg down? If possible, your first goal should be to try and defuse it or jump off the ship with it. But most importantly, you don't want to panic. If you don't think you can defuse it in time, then get a safe distance away. There's really not a bad action to take as long as you do take a action. Don't just stand there like a deer in the headlights. I know it's scary to get surprise kegged, but if you survive the explosion, then just focus on bailing water immediately. You can worry about fighting the enemy or patching holes second. This is because if it was just a normal keg, then you should be able to bail faster than you sink. A skilled player will be able to fight off the enemy while also multitasking buckets of water.
Tactical nuke incoming!
Rowboats are your best friend if you want to go for a keg play. It's super fun to load up a rowboat with kegs and then sneakily sail them to an enemy crew. The most fun is if you can actually dock a rowboat full of kegs on an unsuspecting ship. Here's how to improve your cannon skills in Sea of Thieves. The biggest mistake I see is people not knowing where to aim. Your first goal in a cannon battle is to hit your opponent off their cannon. You need to aim directly at the enemy cannon until you get the kill. The goal is to one-ball them, which is when you direct impact them and one-shot kill them. It's at this point that you can hit them anywhere else on their ship. The best place to target on their ship is the lower deck because the holes fill with water faster. It's also good to target the mast and wheel to break them. You'll need to hit a lower deck spot 3 times without it being patched to create a tier 3 hole. Targeting the back deck of the enemy ship can be useful if you want to cripple their wheel so they can't run away, or if you want to interrupt them while they're trying to raise their mast. Your main goal on cannons is usually to either kill the enemy on their cannon, or to drop the enemy mast. But remember, target the enemy player first, and then anywhere else on their ship second. Another big mistake I see people make on cannons is not exiting the cannon when you know you're beat. There's no shame in hopping off the cannon to eat some food and heal. Hop off the cannon if you see a cannonball flying directly at your head, or if you start getting too weak. Don't overcommit to staying on the cannon or you will die very quickly. It takes much less time for you to hop off the cannon for 2 seconds and eat than it does for you to go to the Ferry of the Damned and have to respawn. But what if you're beat on the cannon and your opponent is gatekeeping you off of it by spamming shots? Don't panic. One option is to wait until they have to go refill their cannonballs and then you hop back on your cannon. Another option is to snipe at your enemy. If you're close enough, you can even throw blunderbombs at them. Or finally, you can try harpooning them to your own ship. If you're still unable to return fire at your opponent, then you should probably run away from their ship and reset the fight. Don't think a single broadside needs to determine the winner. It's also important to understand how different ammo has different weight. Chain shots move slower and travel less distance than cannonballs. This means you have to aim higher and even lead your target more to hit their mast. It's smart to aim for the center cross of the mast when going for chain shots. Likewise, when cannon launching yourself, you'll notice that you're also heavier than a cannonball and don't travel as far. One of the best skills you can develop on cannons is getting used to launching yourself and your teammates accurately. The goal is usually to launch far enough in front of your enemy's ship that you can swim to the ladder in time to board them. But the most impressive cannon launch is called a deck shot. This is when you land directly on the other ship. You can also grab hold of any interactive object like ladders to catch yourself. Deck shotting is boarding in style, and it's the most fun thing to do in this game. If you're on the cannon, it's also very important to communicate with your teammate on the wheel. Tell them if you're winning the fight or not. You need to communicate if it's time to reset the fight. Don't stay in a broadside out of pride if you're clearly beat. Just sail away and repair so you can try a new broadside. Communication is also key if you drop the enemy mast because you need your person on wheel to start a death spiral. And most importantly, you need to communicate if you're losing cannon angle or not. Communication is key. The next common mistake I see people make on cannons is not paying attention to where their shots are going. You may need to aim the cannon down after you fire to see where your shots are actually placing and adjust. You'll need to adjust horizontally for velocity and vertically for range, but the point is to constantly adjust your cannon aim until you hear your musical cues that you're getting hits. It's super helpful to have your friend on the wheel be your spotter. Have him call out where your shots are placing. He can tell you if your shots are coming up short or behind your enemy's ship. A pro tip is that if your enemy is landing hits on you first, you can adjust your cannon to match the arc of where their cannonball is traveling. In general, if you're sailing the same direction as the enemy ship, your cannon will aim true to wherever you aim horizontally. However, if you're traveling in the opposite direction, then you'll need to lead your target quite a bit. Practice makes perfect. You're gonna need a lot of practice to master this. The biggest thing is that you don't want to have to be picky with your shots. You want to be able to spam cannonballs at your enemy from very far away, and get used to judging distance at a glance. Aiming will feel more natural after you practice, but just remember that even the best players have to adjust their shots and get dialed in on the target. To win a broadside, it's really just a race to see if you can get dialed in on the enemy ship before they can get dialed in on you. It's not just about hitting your target first try. Rather, it's about how quickly you can adjust your shots to get dialed in. The best way to improve your cannon aim is the obvious answer: practice. Take every fight you can. Fight skeleton ships. Fight ghost ships. Fight every crew you see. 99% of your cannon skills are just coming from practice and getting familiar with gauging distance. You need to shoot a lot of cannonballs, but most importantly, you need to actually pay attention while you're doing it. Get used to judging range, get used to judging how high you need to aim, get used to how fast the cannonball travels, and finally, the hardest one will be getting used to how to lead your shots on different moving targets. But remember, no one's cannon aim is perfect all the time. Even the pros need to see how their shots are placing and adjust their aim throughout a broadside. The best tip I can give you is this: aiming is not about being perfect your first try. Rather, it's about knowing how to adjust your misses and turn them into hits next time. It's all about how to improve when you miss. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to me, and thanks for watching Captain Squiddy. Also join my Discord, link is in the description. Here's your guide to all the weapons in Sea of Thieves. There are 6 main weapons to pick from. The sword is the most hated weapon, but it's also one of the most useful. The sword deals 25 damage per hit, and landing the first hit will allow you to chain a 3-hit combo for 75 damage total. You can also sword dash to deal 60 damage. This is a powerful attack, but it takes a second to charge up first. And it's risky if you miss because you're penalized with a movement cooldown. The sword also has many extra perks. It will stun an enemy, locking them into place when you land hits. The sword can also deal knockback to your enemy as well, if you hit them while they're mid-air or if you land a sword lunge hit. The sword also has the defensive ability to block, which can protect you from other sword users. But the greatest benefit of using a sword is definitely the movement abilities. While blocking, you're able to quickly hop in any direction.
Fucking too fast.
How am I so nimble? Oh, I'm bouncy. Block hopping even lets you phase directly through an enemy's hitbox in front of you. You can use this trick to get behind them and catch them off guard. You can also perform a super jump or a super sword dash. To do this, just hold block before sword dashing, and then jump the moment you begin to accelerate forward. This lets you jump the entire length of a sloop, and it will deal damage just like a normal sword dash. And the last movement ability of the sword is that it lets you skim across the water quickly when you sword dash into it. The sword is the most hated but also most complex weapon in Sea of Thieves. It's simultaneously a movement tool, a defensive tool, and a powerful weapon. I recommend always including it in your loadout if you're playing on console. The sword is great for close range combat, but it can also be useful on islands where there aren't ammo chests. It's nice to still have a weapon even if your gun runs out of ammo. The sword is the easiest of all the weapons for a noob to get kills with. But I should warn you, the sword pisses people off more than any other weapon. If you kill someone, prepare to receive angry messages. The blunderbuss is the most used weapon because it's the only one capable of a one-shot kill. It fires a shotgun blast of 10 pellets, each dealing 10 damage. This means you literally need every pellet to hit your target to one-shot them. To achieve this, you'll need two things to happen. First, you'll need to be at point blank range, and the second is you must aim down sights, which tightens the spread of the shots. It's also important that you aim at the center of the enemy hitbox when you shoot. Sea of Thieves does not reward headshots, and the head's hitbox is actually too small to allow a one-shot kill. The blunderbuss takes only 2.7 seconds to reload, making it easy to spam, but you are incredibly limited by your range. The blunderbuss also has an extra perk of dealing knockback. Shooting a boarder while they try to climb up your ladder should launch them off your boat. The one-hit kill ability of the blunderbuss is what makes it the favorite weapon of boarders because it rewards them for surprise attacks. The blunderbuss is also a great counter to swords. The best way for you to counter someone using a blunderbuss is to always keep running. This will make it very difficult for them to land all 10 pellets on you at once. Just run away and eat. In theory, longer range weapons should counter the blunderbuss. However, in the close quarters of ship combat, sometimes the only way to counter a blunderbuss is by using one yourself. The sniper is probably the most respected weapon in Sea of Thieves. Everyone loves going for long-range snipes on the enemy ship. This can be a great way to counter the enemy cannon while in naval combat. The quick aim-down sights time also means that you can quickscope people at short range. The sniper deals an impressive 70 damage, but the 3.1 second reload speed means that you probably won't get a second shot off before your opponent heals. The best way to play sniper is to use it in combination with another weapon. You'll need to finish off your enemy quickly once you have the health advantage. The flintlock is probably the least used of any weapon, but I think it's underrated. The pistol hits for 55 damage, meaning you need 2 shots to kill someone, but it has the shortest reload time at only 2.3 seconds. This means you can quickly spam shots at range to wear your enemy down. The fast aim down sights time and fast reload speed really make the pistol reward fast-paced gameplay, at least if you can hit your shots. The range is good enough that you can hit someone when fighting on any ship type. However, you'll want to use the sniper if you need the range to shoot someone on a different ship from your own. Using a pistol with a sword is considered the Chad loadout, and it feels the most piratey if you care about immersion. Sea of Thieves also introduced 2 new weapons. The first is another melee weapon, the knife. The knife offers you 3 options for attack moves. You have a quick jab for less damage, a heavy stab for more damage, or you can throw the knife to deal heavy damage at range. The knife basically trades the movement abilities of the sword for a better ranged attack, but both of these melee weapons are very strong options to choose from. Season 12 also introduces the double barrel pistol. It's like the flintlock, but it trades the damage and range of the flintlock for a faster rate of fire. It also gives you the option to charge and release both shots at once. Those are the 6 primary weapons currently in the game. Because you can hold 2 at once, it's important that you try out every different combination. They all require very different playstyles. And remember, don't think of your weapons as a primary and secondary like Call of Duty. Instead, think of your 2 weapons as an equal team. You have 2 primaries. Don't commit too much to only using one weapon, or the enemy will easily adapt to your playstyle and counter you. Use both weapons together to achieve the fastest time to kill across all ranges. The next weapons we should talk about are throwables. Blunderbombs are the most overpowered weapon in the whole game. Keep 5 of them on you at all times if you want something to pull out in an emergency. Blunderbombs will 2-hit kill your enemy. Even if you miss, they deal great splash damage and knockback. The second type of throwable is firebombs. These are more annoying for your enemy than deadly. These are great for griefing the enemy ship when you board. Fire in the lower decks will open holes if not put out. Unfortunately, using firebombs during combat will likely set you on fire along with your enemy, which is why I prefer to use blunderbombs. Season 12 also gave us the skeleton collar. This item is situationally useful for stalling and annoying your enemy, but you shouldn't expect it to win you fights. The next type of weapon is my favorite, powder kegs. These are weapons of mass destruction and a lot of fun to use to troll unsuspecting crews. The last 3 weapons are technically loot items. These are the Trident, Ashen Wind Skull, and Skull of Siren's Song. These all have limited ammo and a relatively slow time to kill. They're more useful for doing PvE than PvP, but it can still be fun to troll your enemies with them. The Trident can be charged to perform 3 sizes of attacks, doing 30, 60, or 90 damage. However, you can only do 30 charges of an attack total before it breaks. The Ashen Wind Skull is funny for lighting everything on fire, but you probably won't win a fight with it. The Skull of Siren's Song actually is quite deadly with a decent time to kill and a constant stream of damage. The only downside is that your movement is slow while holding it. And that's every weapon in Sea of Thieves. Here's everything the game doesn't tell you about PvP. The first thing we need to talk about is healing. PvP in this game is more similar to Minecraft than it is to Call of Duty. Not only do you need to eat food to heal, but you actually have to eat while you're in the middle of fighting. Literally in between shots, you should be taking bites of food to stay alive. If you aren't healing each time you take damage, you're gonna find yourself dying very quickly. This leads us to the most important skill of all, which is movement. PvP in this game is mostly about running around and eating. You should never be standing still and holding an angle like it's Rainbow Six Siege. I promise you will appear invincible to your enemies simply by remembering to run and eat whenever you take damage. I know this sounds so simple and stupid, but I guarantee you'll forget and you'll freeze up in your first fight. Run, zigzag, and jump over your opponents to evade them and position yourself to strike. Most PvP in this game occurs on ships. That's why it's important to memorize the layout of each ship type. Learn the spots where you can jump and parkour. Get comfortable knowing where to run and where to fight. In general, it's easiest to survive on the top deck of every ship type. You'll find yourself getting crowded and surrounded in the lower decks. A player who has mastered movement will have a crazy skill gap on those who haven't. Now let's move on to the fun part, weapons. There are 6 main weapons in the game. These are the sword, throwing knife, blunderbuss, flintlock, double barrel, and sniper. You do not have a primary and a secondary weapon in this game. Rather, you have 2 equal primary weapons. You should not just be using one and neglecting the other. You have to let both of your weapons work together as a team if you want to achieve the highest damage output across all ranges. Most console players prefer to run a sword and a gun. By contrast, most PC players tend to use 2 guns, which is called double gunning. Because of the close range combat on ships, you'll notice that the sword and blunderbuss tend to be the easiest to use. The time to kill in this game is designed to be extremely quick up close, and extremely long as range increases. A huge skill gap in Sea of Thieves is knowing when you should commit to chasing and killing your enemy, or when you should be running away to heal yourself. This is why new players often fall into one of 2 camps. Half will always overcommit and chase people all the time and neglect healing themselves, and then they wonder why they die so quickly. Whereas the other half will go to the other extreme and will never chase to commit to the kill, and then will complain that it's too easy to heal. You have to find the perfect balance between monitoring your own health and chasing down your enemies to finish them off before they can heal. Mastering the whole dance of when to run and when to chase is something that will come with practice. Don't be discouraged and keep practicing. You should frequently visit the ammo chest and food barrel on your ship to refill supplies during combat. You should not expect to win a fight without good food. In addition to guns, there are also throwables. A pro tip is that blunderbombs are extremely overpowered and function like impact grenades. PvP is just one half of the combat in this game. The other half is called naval. This refers to battling with the ships themselves. You cannot just focus on PvP or naval individually. You must practice and master both if you want to win most fights. Most battles will start with naval, and then will require you to actually board your enemy ship to make sure they sink. Naval strategy can be divided into 4 main parts: sailing tactics, cannons, managing repairs, and boarding. You will need to multitask all 4 of these during the intense chaos of battle. The skill gap in this game is crazy because you have to be good at so many very different things to beat your opponent. You need to have a solid understanding of naval tactics to make sure you can hit your opponent's ship but they don't have angle on you. You need to have good cannon aim and the game sense to know where to aim and what ammo to use on your enemy's ship to keep the upper hand in battle. And finally, you need to constantly multitask repairing your ship, patching holes, and bucketing water during all of this. I'm going to be posting a lot of more specific naval guides to help you guys out. I'm going to cover every aspect of PvP in this game and make sure PS5 players can learn everything they need to compete with the rest of us. So don't forget to subscribe. Here's the top 10 sounds that every Sea of Thieves player should know. Pay attention to these and it just might save your life. Number 1, the sound of someone grabbing your ladder. If an enemy is trying to board you, they'll make a very distinctive splash sound right before they climb up your ladder. It sounds like this. If you hear this sound, then you need to immediately guard your ladders. Number 2, the sound of an enemy mermaid spawning. If an enemy lands in the water close enough to your ship, you'll hear their mermaid spawn in, which sounds like this. This sound can give you even more advanced notice that an enemy is about to board your ship. Number 3, the sound of a player launching out of their own cannon. For reference, this is what a normal cannonball sounds like. Now this is what a player cannon launching sounds like. This sound is the earliest possible warning you have that your enemy is about to board you. Number 4, the sound of enemy guns. This clicking noise is what it sounds like when someone's out of ammo in their gun. And most importantly, this is what it sounds like when someone switches to a sword. Even if you don't see them, hearing this noise tells you to start running away if you're at low health. There's nothing scarier than hearing this noise right behind you. Another important gun noise is the sound of a blunderbuss reloading. It sounds like this. If your enemy whiffed a blunderbuss shot and you haven't heard this noise yet, then you know it's safe to run close to them and take advantage. Your ears can actually win you fights. Number 5. This is what a keg sounds like when it's lit. Memorize how long you have between the keg lighting and the explosion happening. Experienced players will know if they have enough time to defuse an enemy's keg. Number 6. This is what your ship sounds like right before it sinks. Hearing this noise will tell you when it's urgent to bail water in a fight. Number 7. This is the sound of your mast breaking. Without even seeing your mast break, this noise tells you to immediately grab the rope and catch your mast before it falls. Instantly recognizing the sound will literally win you fights. Number 8. This is the sound of a cannonball hitting your mast, but not fully breaking it. This noise tells you that you should either repair the mast immediately, or be prepared to catch the mast soon. You should also be able to recognize the sound of chain shot firing. It sounds like this. Number 9. The sound of someone hiding in a barrel. Listen and watch out for sneaky players hiding on your ship. Number 10. The sound of an ancient skeleton. When you hear this noise, you only have seconds to find and destroy the skeleton before it despawns. You'll be rewarded with ancient coins to use in the item shop. Number 11. The last noise is the sound of my outro music. This sound tells you that you just watched another Good Captain Squiddy video, and it's time to subscribe.
Oh, hey there. So, you're thinking about subscribing, huh?
Welcome back to Sea of Thieves University. In this video, I'm showing you the dictionary of all the Sea of Thieves terms you should know. Number 1. Tuck. Tucking is when you hide on an enemy ship as a stowaway. The goal is usually to troll an unsuspecting crew and steal their most valuable loot. Always be cautious of people hiding in your crow's nest or hiding in barrels. Number 2. Backspawn. Even after your ship sinks, sometimes the game will still respawn you in the water where you just sunk. This is something you always have to look out for if you just sunk your enemy. Number 3. Backsplash. This is when you forget to empty your bucket and you accidentally dump water back into your ship instead of bailing. Every player has accidentally sunk themselves this way. Number 4. One ball. This is when you direct impact your enemy with a cannonball, one shot killing them. Death groans are the creaking noises your ship makes when it's close to sinking. Reball. This is when you need to hop off the cannon and restock your cannonballs. Swabby. This is a noob.
Help! Help me! Help!
Helm. This is the player in charge of steering the ship during combat. Hull. This is the lower decks of your ship where holes will let water in. Bilge. This is the player in charge of bucketing and repairing the lower deck during combat. Deck shot. This is when you cannon launch yourself and land directly on the enemy ship to board them. Do this if you want to beat your enemies in style. Broadside. This refers to the side of your enemy ship where their cannons can angle to face you. Sailing in a broadside means both ships are parallel to each other and have an angle to hit one another. The goal is usually to stay out of your enemy's broadside. Nosing. This is when you steer directly into your enemy's broadside. Instead of being parallel, you're pointing straight into them to ram their ship. This is the worst possible position to be in, because your enemy is an angle on you, but you don't have one on them. Death spiral. This is when you circle a stopped enemy ship. After you drop your enemy's mast, you have to then orbit around their crippled ship and land hits to finish them off. This circle you sail around your enemy is called the death spiral. Stacking. This is when you store a lot of loot on your ship because you're waiting to sell it. If someone is stacking the Fort of the Damned, it means they are completing the world event over and over again. Stacking loot is convenient for time, but it is very risky because people will be coming to rob you. Keg play. This means someone is attempting to board your ship with a red gunpowder barrel. Keg plays are a great way to surprise an enemy crew, but they can also backfire because kegs are easily set off on your own ship by accident. Nuke, or mega keg, are slang terms for the most powerful keg. Officially, its name is the Stronghold gunpowder barrel. Catch the mast. When your mast breaks, you can actually catch it before it falls all the way, and you'll pull it up much quicker. This is referred to as catching the mast, as opposed to letting it fall. Getting rared means that a bug is ruining your play session, like this clip here of my sloop getting flipped upside down. But getting rared can also refer to normal game features just working against you, like when you get hit by a Kraken, a Megalodon, and a Skelly ship all at once. Hit reg is when the game doesn't register a hit correctly. You'll shoot someone and see the bullet hit them, but they won't actually take damage. Emissary. There are 5 factions in Sea of Thieves that you can become an emissary for. Emissary flags fly in the back of your ship and show a grade level from 1 to 5. The more loot you collect for your faction, the more money you get for selling it. This is also why people stack loot. Reaper. This refers to someone sailing under the Reaper's Bones faction. This is the only faction that is PvP based. These players will get rewarded for stealing any of your loot, and for sinking you and stealing your emissary flag. Double gun. This is when you run 2 guns instead of a gun and sword. Most console players do not double gun, but most PC players do. And that's all the basic Sea of Thieves terms you should know. Here are the 10 most common PvP mistakes. Number 1. Not moving while fighting. You should never stand still in combat or you'll be an easy target. You should be running around the ship at all times unless you're shooting. It's usually best to stay on the top deck so you have more space to juke, run, parkour, or even jump off the ship if needed. This is not Rainbow Six Siege. If you stand still to hold an angle, you're gonna instantly get hit with a blunderbuss or sword. Number 2, not eating while fighting. The PvP in this game is more similar to Minecraft than Call of Duty in terms of how you heal. You should be eating every time you take damage or else you'll die very quickly. Running away and eating constantly during PvP will make you seem invincible to your enemies. And don't bring bananas to a pineapple fight. You need good food to beat good opponents. Number 3, only using one weapon. You don't have one primary weapon and one secondary weapon. Rather, you have 2 primaries. You should be using each weapon equally. Shoot one and then switch to the other to finish off your opponent quickly. This mistake is most common in blunderbuss and sword users who just chase you down without thinking, and don't switch to their other weapon even when they're out of range. Your enemy will quickly notice your playstyle and react to it to counter you. Use 2 weapons to make it harder for your enemy to anticipate what you're gonna do, and you'll achieve a faster time to kill. Number 4, not keeping an eye on the horizon. Your ship should never be getting surprise attacked. Every few minutes, you should be pulling out your spyglass and scanning the horizon for ships. If you're paying attention to your surroundings, then you should have several minutes advance notice before anyone pulls up on you. It's also a good idea to check the map table for Reaper crews in your area. Number 5, sailing straight into your opponent's broadside is a mistake. Sail parallel to the enemy ship or circle them. Do not sail perpendicular to them. Ideally, your opponent does not have an angle on you, but you have one on them. Remember that naval fights are just as much about the wheel as they are about the cannon. Number 6, not knowing when to reset the fight. New players struggle with understanding when it's time to exit battle and repair your ship. Noobs will treat every single broadside like it has to be their final stand, instead of realizing they can just reset the fight. It's important to realize that during a naval battle, you won't have time to patch all your holes below deck. Instead, you should be focused on the battle at hand, and you should mainly be bailing buckets of water instead of actually patching holes. So how do you know when it's time to reset the fight? The answer is that you reset the fight when you start filling up with water too quickly to comfortably bail alone. This is when it's time to turn the wheel away from the enemy ship so you can escape and patch your holes. Always prioritize patching the largest lower deck holes first because these fill with water the fastest. You also want to double check that your wheel and mast are both at full health before you return to combat. However, I should warn you that the instant you start to run away is usually when your enemy will either try to board you or chain shot your mast. This is because they know you're weak and distracted. I should also warn you that when you reset the fight, you're also resetting the fight for your enemy as well. Sometimes I hesitate to restart a fight because it feels like I've invested too much supplies to simply start the battle over again. But just remember that it's always better to waste some supplies than to sink and lose all of it. Number 7, not putting pressure on your enemy as soon as you have their mast down. You only have seconds to take advantage when the enemy mast falls. Don't let your chain shots go to waste. You immediately need to either board the enemy and anchor them, or start death spiraling them. The goal is to stop them from repairing and moving their ship again. You can use cannonballs or blunderbombs to hit the player who is trying to raise their mast. If you don't put pressure on immediately, then your enemy will be fixed and moving again in less than 20 seconds. Number 8, trying for too many boards. Don't be a bad teammate who's never on the ship. Boarding only makes sense if you're trying to stop an enemy from running away, or if your opponent is already badly damaged. If you're just boarding an enemy ship for no reason, then you're just making the naval fight harder for your teammates. Wait until the right moment to board. Number 9, not stocking up on supplies first. It doesn't matter how good you are, you need cannonballs and planks to win a fight, and they will run out much quicker than you think. If you're fighting very sweaty opponents, then you're also going to need chain shot and high tier food. There's nothing worse than running out of food, cannonballs, or planks when you're about to beat a crew. And number 10, the last mistake is expecting to win fights against larger crews, especially if you're playing solo and especially if you're new. Picking fights with larger crews is only a fun challenge if you're experienced and know what you're doing, but even the best player will still be at a major disadvantage against a bigger crew. My main concern is new players feeling discouraged because they can't 1v2 or 2v4. If you're new, you're gonna get spam boarded and spawn trapped very quickly, and you're gonna have a bad time if the other crew knows what they're doing. You should master the basics of PvP before you try to fight a bigger crew. And that's the 10 most common PvP mistakes I see new players make. Here's everything you should know about Sea of Thieves etiquette. Number 1. If you use a blunderbuss and sword as your loadout, you will piss people off. You will be called trash and you will receive angry messages. This loadout angers people more than any other. Number 2. If you're sailing under the Reapers faction, do not run away from fights. Reapers is specifically the PvP faction, but there's a stereotype for running Reapers. When you put this emissary flag on, everyone in the server can see your location, and they will assume that you want a PvP. So don't play as a Reaper unless you're ready to fight. Number 3. Don't sink a freshly spawned ship. It's generally frowned upon to attack a ship that has just spawned at an outpost. The crew is likely still gathering supplies and hasn't even stepped on board their own ship yet. But on the bright side, this crew also really doesn't have anything to lose. It pisses people off and it's generally considered bad etiquette, but it's definitely not the worst thing on this list. Number 4. Attacking someone doing tall tales is frowned upon. Tall tales are the campaign story missions you can do in the open world. Generally, it is considered evil to sink someone who's just doing tall tales. Some of these voyages take a long time to do, and it's pretty widely understood to be toxic to attack these people. Number 5. Spawn trapping a crew that is smaller than you is toxic. There's no skill in that because you have the player count advantage. You can absolutely sink them or rob them because it's a pirate game, but spawn camping a smaller crew just for the sake of spawn camping them is toxic, even if you're expecting them to scuttle. Please don't spawn camp a sloop as a galleon crew because that is just toxic. Number 6. Be nice to noobs. Again, you're totally allowed to sink or rob anyone in this game. You're free to do whatever you want, but most of the community knows that it's best to spare noobs. And honestly, you should be helping them. Give them some advice, and try to give them a wholesome experience. Number 7. Most Hourglass players do not use cursed cannonballs unless their opponent uses them first. It's sort of like mutually assured destruction. Fire one cursed cannonball, and your opponent may go nuclear on you. People will also complain about cursed balls in open world fights, but Hourglass is the only place where people are really serious about it. Number 8. Going sword only will piss people off. If you use nothing but a sword and chase people around non-stop, you're gonna receive some angry messages. Now this is a pirate game and there's nothing wrong with using a sword. It fully fits with the premise of the game. But you should be warned that it makes people really angry. People will complain that the sword is too overpowered, and they're also gonna call you trash. The sword brings out more hate in the Sea of Thieves community than anything, because they'll hate you for using a sword, and you'll hate them for how they react to you using a sword. Number 9. If someone quick chats rolls on deck laughing, they're trying to be toxic. This is the equivalent of what a save spamming in Rocket League. This is kinda just universally what you spam when you beat someone you don't like. I would say 99% of the time if someone chats this, it's to be toxic. But don't take it personally because a lot of players just spam this chat in every fight. Number 10. If you purchase and wear the Reaper faction outfit, you will receive hate messages for it. This outfit is referred to as the Reaper pajamas. Some people even wear it ironically. I'm not really sure where this hatred came from or how it started, because all the factions have costumes, but this one in particular just pisses people off.
You look lonely. I can fix that.
Cells.
Cells.
Do they keep you in a cell? Cells.
Cells.
Interlinked.
Interlinked.
What's it like to hold the hand of someone you love? Interlinked.
Interlinked.
Do you long for having your heart interlinked? Interlinked.
Interlinked.
Do you dream about being interlinked?
Interlinked.
Do you feel that there's a part of you that's missing? Interlinked.
Interlinked.
Within cells interlinked.
Within cells interlinked.
Why don't you say that 3 times? Within cells interlinked.
Within cells interlinked. Within cells interlinked. Within cells interlinked.
Number 11. Most sloops have an unspoken agreement to work together against bigger ships. If 2 sloops and a galleon come across each other, the 2 sloops will almost always team up, even if they never chat anything. So don't be afraid to offer or join an alliance with other solo sloopers in your server. They'll almost always accept it, and I think it's pretty wholesome when smaller crews can work together to take on bigger ones. Number 12. Alliances are allowed to be broken. Don't take it personally. Rare left team killing turned on for alliances for a reason. It's supposed to make the game and player interactions more exciting, and more like a movie. Alliances can and will be betrayed at any moment. Never let your guard down no matter how nice they're being in game chat. That being said, in my experience, it's about 50-50. Half the time it's really wholesome and fun, and the other half the time you get a heartbreaking betrayal, but you also get the chance for revenge. Number 13. Remember that Sea of Thieves is a PvPvE game. PvP is fundamentally part of the experience. It's not wrong for crews to sink you or steal from you. If you're stacking loot on your ship, then you have to understand that Sea of Thieves is basically an extraction game for you. Your loot isn't actually your loot until you've sold it. It's not toxic and it's openly part of the game experience. There's always a big misconception among new players that Sea of Thieves isn't supposed to be a PvP game, or that it's somehow toxic to rob people. Do not complain about getting robbed and don't take it personally. However, spawn trapping new players and being toxic in chat is still frowned upon, but the act of simply sinking someone or robbing them is absolutely not toxic. And that's everything you need to know about Sea of Thieves etiquette. Is it toxic to steal loot in Sea of Thieves? It sucks getting robbed. All that time wasted, you're a hard-earned treasure in the hands of a greedy enemy. Everyone would agree there's no worse feeling than getting robbed. However, there's also no better feeling than sinking the crew that robbed you and stealing your loot back. And this is where the true beauty of Sea of Thieves lies. You don't just give up when someone robs you, you take it as a call to adventure, and you fight them with everything you've got. And today, that's exactly how our story begins, with a surprise robbery and the ultimate revenge. There I was at an Ashen Winds world event. My crewmate and I had been grinding world events for a few hours, collecting as much loot as we could on our little sloop. Little did we know a bigger crew was pulling up to our ship to rob us at this very moment.
We got pulled up on! Oh, Brig! Brig! Get back to the ship! Dude, I didn't even see anyone on the horizon.
Panic set in as I realized just how screwed we truly were. I was about to lose all my hard-earned loot to a bigger crew. All those hours wasted, and I felt powerless to stop it.
Oh, we sunk and lost everything.
But I wasn't going down without a fight. I was all alone on the island without a ship, but I had a plan. While they were distracted picking up my loot, I was gonna use the cannon rowboat to sink my enemy. Unfortunately, this crew spotted me and quickly took me down. Now, most players would have just given up at this point. They would have rage quit or deleted the game, or reported their enemies for toxicity. But I wasn't giving up so easily. I saw the opportunity for revenge. Out of pure luck, the game had spawned me close to the island. We had a real chance to win our loot back. The odds were against us. It would still be a 2v3, but we did have one thing working in our favor: the element of surprise. We were approaching the island from the opposite side of their ship. This means they would be completely blind to us. The brigantine crew was also distracted trying to harpoon our loot and beat the world event. This was the perfect storm for some revenge. My heart was racing as we pulled up to the island. We only had seconds here to capitalize on the surprise attack before they spotted us. We strategically positioned our ship in front of theirs to cut them off. Now they had no escape, and no cannon angle to even fire back at us. The first thing we needed to do was immobilize the enemy ship so they couldn't get away. My teammate began chain-shotting their masts, while I boarded to drop their anchor.
I killed one in the water. They're anchored. I have 2 dead. They're gonna sink. They're so close to sinking. They sunk. Dude, let's go. We got it back. Dude, we got everything back.
The surprise attack actually worked. We sunk our enemy just like they had sunk us. By surprise, without a fair fight, and without mercy. Ironically, we actually had more loot now than what we had started with. We got our old loot back, plus the Brig Cruise loot, plus the World Event loot. Because we didn't just give up and rage quit, we now had a fat stack of treasure. And it was also double Golden Glory weekend, meaning this loot would sell for twice its normal value. We desperately needed to go cash out before the brig could return, but then something caught my eye. Another crew on the server had just activated the Fort of the Damned, and it was close. We could rob them and steal their loot too. However, we had just dealt with a robbery ourselves and gotten so pissed off at our enemies. Were we really about to become the very thing we swore to destroy? Could we really stoop so low as to rob another crew during Golden Glory weekend? The answer was yes, especially on Golden Glory weekend.
I board them here.
Nice.
Got him.
Come around again.
The mission was a success. The enemy had filled with water so quickly that they couldn't even respawn in time to save their ship.
Oh, there's a keg. There's a keg right there. Okay, that was a really dumb keg.
Did he just kill him? Oh no, he's still alive.
No, he didn't, but he only
Alright,
got
repair.
back holes on us. We're fine.
He's coming up. I can't get him.
I got
He's
him.
coming up.
Sniped him off the ladder on the side.
Nice. That's so funny, dude. I can't believe the nuke actually worked.
It sunk him
And
so
they
fast.
sunk.
I got one
I
shot
know.
on them.
We returned to the island and started raiding the treasure vault. Unfortunately, the enemy sloop was just as stubborn as we are. They came back for revenge, but little did they know I still had another nuke I was saving on our ship. I told my teammate to stay on the fort and protect the treasure, while I worked my magic yet again. I had cooked up another plan just as stupid as the last one. I sailed directly away from the sloop, baiting them into chasing me, and then I jumped overboard to donate this piece of loot back to them.
I'm going for the keg play. Come back to the ship.
I'm back.
Okay, I think I can board them here. Dude, I'm literally gonna keg them a second time. Mr. President, there's been a second keg.
They only have...
Oh, I got hit by a shark.
Wait, what do you want me to do with the ship?
He sorted the nuke. We just nuked them twice.
And the skeleton ship is still shooting them.
I'm gonna go board. Oh,
They just
they're
sent a
boarding
boarder.
you.
Why did they send a
Bold
border?
move.
They're gonna sink. I raised sails.
Oh, they're fixing their ship, or they're trying
Oh,
to.
okay.
They're saving their ship.
I'm getting shots. Ow, the skeleton ship just shot us.
Here, let me help you out here.
Yeah, we're a little close.
Oh, they just sunk. Nice. I killed him in the water. Let me make sure the other one doesn't get a back spawn.
He's on,
Hey,
on.
they had a
He's on our
rowboat for
ship.
us. Okay. Nice. Killed him.
Nice.
We had defeated them a second time with a second stronghold keg, and now it was time to go cash out and sell our loot. This adventure had already come full circle. We went from getting robbed and losing everything to robbing others ourselves and gaining everything. I felt bad for that poor sloop crew, but everyone knows the Fort of the Damned is not for the faint of heart. World events are always a risk. Sea of Thieves is all about risk. No treasure is ever truly safe until you've sold it, and this game is called Sea of Thieves for a reason. But as the double gold flowed into my pockets, I couldn't shake a funny feeling. It was greed. I wanted more. It was the last day of double Golden Glory weekend, and I couldn't let this opportunity go to waste. We would go on to plunder this server for everything it had. We had sailed from outpost to outpost, sinking every ship we could catch.
Okay, I'm gonna go see if they started selling anything, because I see shiny stuff on the place where they would harpoon from.
What had started as a chill PvE session had now turned into a quest for blood. The profits were huge, and the Ferry of the Damned was filled with our enemies. This game lets you make your gold however you want to, and today, our sleuth was helping Sea of Thieves live up to its name. Suddenly, my friend made a shocking discovery about our loot.
Oh, there we go. There's our storage crate. Yes, sir.
I didn't realize you could clip loot into the mast just by jumping, and so we loaded up our mast, letting it show the server exactly what we've got. Imagine someone boarding us and seeing this. I've never seen anyone do this before.
It's so hard. Pause.
It's our Christmas tree.
Wait, we have little ornaments too. The powder keg is the present under the tree.
Yeah. Much like an anglerfish, perhaps we could attract our prey straight to us by luring them with loot.
How fast can you run to the front of the ship? Oh, that was close.
Now satisfied with the treasure we had collected, it was time to go cash out. That is, until we made another shocking discovery.
Wait, yes you can.
Oh, wait, look at it.
You've been naughty.
That one's going through her neck. Look where I put the Reaper's chest.
Go where I wanted to.
This is a work of modern art.
Wait, there we go. And wait, we put our storage crate up there too. Someone's gonna see the flashing, like, oh my gosh, someone left treasure there, and they're gonna come over and be like, what the heck? The funny thing is they're gonna get all the chests off and then see the knives.
Yeah.
Wait, come take a seat with me here.
Oh yeah, we can admire
we could
our
just watch.
masterpiece.
We could just watch.
As I sat there with my friend, I realized the true meaning of Sea of Thieves. Maybe it wasn't about the loot after all. My heart grew 3 sizes that day, and much like the Grinch who stole Christmas, I decided to give back what I stole. Instead of selling our loot, it was time to leave our treasure sculpture as a gift to the server. If you're the lucky person who found this loot pile, let us know in the comments. There I was, locked in a sweaty 1v1, when suddenly a toxic galleon crew third-partied our fight to attack me. Now it was a 5-on-1. Meanwhile, 3 skeleton ships and a megalodon were also attacking me. You cannot make this up. The odds have never been so stacked against me. But in the end, I not only survive, I actually win this unwinnable battle. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This story began with me queuing a match of 1v1 Hourglass. Now this was already shaping up to be a sweaty fight. My opponent was experienced, landing shots on me with ease. But then I saw something that shivered me timbers. Oh, there's a galleon that's gonna third-party this. A galleon was actually coming to third-party our fight. Instead of respecting our Hourglass 1v1, this 4-man crew was going to shamelessly sink both of us. At least they were gonna try. Now hopefully the galleon just obliterates this man. Fortunately, they ran into my opponent first. Yeah! And so our 3 ships sailed around each other, exchanging blows. I one-balled one of them. My supplies were quickly running out. It felt like all hope was lost, and I wanted to give up. So I parked my ship and launched up a white flare. Suddenly, everything changed in an instant. Truce, brother, I don't have cannonballs. Instead of sinking me, my opponent asked for a truce with me. My solo enemy was actually so pissed off at the galleon that he didn't even care about winning the match anymore. Brother, I don't have cannonballs to take out this galleon, but I guess this is pretty wholesome. I mean, sure, I'll truce with you during an Hourglass match. He would rather team up with me and fight this galleon together. Unfortunately, I felt the exact same way. This is actually very wholesome. Forget the Hourglass match, it was time to sink this larger enemy together. I was running out of cannonballs, but I could still try to anchor this galleon and then let my new friend rain cannonballs on them.
Alright, buddy, I'm buying you time.
I respawned on my ship in time to get jump scared by a boarder. But this wasn't an enemy, it was my friend, abandoning his own ship to fight alongside with me on one sloop. But unfortunately, he wasn't the only one boarding my ship.
Are we getting... Oh, we're getting boarded. I'm just gonna assume that anyone on this ship is hostile.
Suddenly, the Fleet of Fortune world event got activated, and hostile skeleton ships started spawning on me too. And then a Megalodon also spawned on me. The odds were still against me, but I had to keep trying. I boarded the galleon again and again to try and drop their anchor.
Let me drop the anchor! I like how me and the dude who were supposed to be fighting the hourglass match are getting aggroed by the AI. And the literal galleon that's third partying is having no AI contest it. Like, no joke, this dude's getting aggroed.
At this point, my solo friend's ship had started to take a serious beating. He was being aggroed by the skeleton ships, and he was getting pursued by the galleon crew, and I was left with a difficult choice. Do I gang up on this solo player here and help sink him? I mean, this is supposed to be an hourglass 1v1 match after all, but how could I betray a man who had offered to team up with me despite being opponents? We had gone from enemies to friends. When have I ever found a player this wholesome? I couldn't do it. I couldn't sink him. But unfortunately, I was also powerless to take down the galleon without supplies. All I could do was watch as my new friend slowly died to the many enemies around us. I knew the end was near for him, so I invited one of my friends to the game. As soon as this man sunk, our 1v1 hourglass match would be over, and then my friend could actually join my sloop, and the galleon crew would have no clue what was about to hit them.
I literally can't do anything because there's 2 AI ships, a Megalodon, and a whole galleon. Oh, I'm sorry, 3 AI ships. There's 3 AI ships, one of which just anchor balled me.
The match ended and my friend joined my crew. I was determined to survive and beat this galleon crew at all costs. I had come too far to go down without a fight, but I had never been so desperate for supplies. Using the few cannonballs I had left, we took down the skeleton ship. The supplies these skeletons would drop for us would let us profit in cannonballs. The plan worked. We now had the supplies we needed, and the galleon had no clue that I now had a teammate on board. This was the perfect chance for us to get revenge. We circled back to take down this galleon before they could realize they weren't fighting a 4v1 anymore.
Okay, he let go. He knew he was beat. We don't have a lot of supplies, but we got like 40 cannonballs out of that. And I have 5 chains actually.
I sunk that sloop, so you can, if you want to loot them.
Let me know when you're close to coming back, because I might... Actually, I guess I should get holes before I go to board. Oh, we're right in their broadside. They're trying to chain us. Let me know when you're back.
I'm coming back right now.
Okay, they hit mast once. Can you patch us? I'm gonna go board because I have holes all over their ship. Oh, I overshot that. Also, you might want to get out of there if you can.
Oh, they just got masked.
One risky sword lunge had left me dead and left our ship vulnerable. I respawned to find my sloop filling with water and an enemy on board.
He's here. I mean, we should be able to... I'm dead.
A lucky one shot from my blunderbuss had saved our sloop for now.
Do me a favor and repair. I'm gonna raise anchor.
Fortunately, the skeleton ships were also pounding the enemy galleon right now. It was time for us to get back in the fight as quickly as possible.
Alright, we're back in their broadside. Someone's boarding. I'm gonna have to watch.
I knew the enemy galleon was filling with water. I also knew they had been spamming way too many boarders at us. There was no way they were keeping up with repairs. Then I saw the perfect opportunity to chain shot their masts and make them panic. There were probably only 2 players on board when their masts fell, and I guarantee one of them stopped bailing to try and catch a mast, while the other one struggled to keep their ship afloat. This galleon was so overconfident that they were neglecting their water level in the lower deck.
I'm just gonna go board here.
Alright.
Deck shotted.
I'll s-
They sunk.
Nice.
They sunk.
Nice.
This galleon had underestimated us. Their overconfidence had made them spam too many boards and neglect repairs, and in the end, it was their downfall. I promise I meant a quick chat, well played, instead of repair the ship, but I think my accidental toxicity is okay considering the circumstances.
Dude, let's go. Dude, I'm so happy you just joined me right there. Like, you literally joined me right when the 1v1 ended.
Not only had I survived the impossible, but I was actually victorious. And now it was time to beat this Fleet of Fortune World event too. I had felt so powerless and defeated for the past hour, but now I felt unstoppable. This is what Sea of Thieves is all about, spontaneous adventure. I had thought I was just queuing up a simple 1v1 hourglass match, but little did I know just how crazy this fight would get. This is why Sea of Thieves is so special, and this is why I can still play it even 6 years after launch. It's because every time I play, I have a unique adventure that I never would have even thought of.
The captain's floating! The captain's in creative mode.
Unfortunately, I never did get the gamertag of my hourglass opponent because I was in streamer mode. If you recognize yourself in this video, please let me know in the comments. I wish I could have let you know that we won. Your sacrifice was not in vain, and we did beat the galleon. And maybe we found that the greatest treasure isn't the hourglass win streak. Maybe it's the friends we made along the way. If you liked this video, please subscribe to me, and thanks for watching, Captain Squiddy.